This was the golden kingdom of Peru, and Lima the brightest jewel in its crown. Here in 1535, Pizarro established the capital of Spain in the New World. Here the first conquistadores laid down their weapons, and on this alien soil began the recreation of their old world. They were homes to the carved balconies and sun-bleached walls of Spain. These they built again in the strange new land. When their women followed 3 decades later, they founded the aristocracy of a raw, rich land. They brought with them the ornate formality and the stout faith of their homeland. In the conquest of Peru, the priest walked side by side with the soldiers. They came to impose the rules and to impart the blessings of European civilization upon an already highly developed and disciplined people, the Incas. The priest worked with austerity and valor to convert, to teach, and to heal, and left a heritage of Catholic culture to which no other in the New World could be compared. In this heritage is a link between Lima Old and Lima New, for the outlines of it have been changed remarkably little. The descendants of the men and women who built the cathedrals and embroidered the altar cloths of Viceregal Lima still worship at the same shrines. All manner of men compose 20th century Lima, men with the blood of the conquerors and of those they conquered long ago. On such a day as this, when the Virgin of San Francisco is carried from her altar, the men and women who gather in the streets bear upon their faces the marks of 2 wholly different worlds. The core of the old city is much the same. New houses have grown up along widened avenues, but the life within them retains much of the flavor of the past. Take, for example, this house. It belongs to a wealthy doctor of ancient Spanish lineage. Despite the conservatism of his family, he has been educated in the most modern medical procedures. Although his clientele comes in large part from his own social group, he does much charity work. He is chief surgeon of the great workers' hospital, and this morning performs an appendectomy on a Lima cab driver, whose membership in the Social Security group of his working class entitles him to this care. At 12 o'clock, the doctor goes home to lunch. No hurried sandwich and coffee at the hospital for him. A 2-hour recess at noonday is a very definite part of his way of life, as it is for most of his countrymen. his youth, the doctor was a bullfight enthusiast. Now he collects souvenirs of the sport, costumes and swords, and the heads of bulls slain in famous fights. 14 people live in this house, in addition to 9 servants. There are daughters and sons, husbands and wives, grandchildren and cousins. The members of this household are deeply, graciously hospitable to the few outsiders who penetrate their circle. The doctor is unquestioned master in his own house, benevolent ruler of 3 generations under the same roof. The mother, intelligent, devoted to her home, is a product of many generations who held women closely within the limits of the household. Although their position in society is slowly changing, the women of Peru still have no vote, cannot own property, cannot obtain a divorce. Their daughters may walk out into a different world one day, but most of the old rules have not yet been broken. When the children are young, they live in the center of a small circle of maids and governesses who cater to their whims and their small vanities. The business of being a woman, the delicacies, the mannerisms, all are impressed very early upon these little girls. The very furnishings of the house reflect their contact with the past. Many articles are museum pieces, such as this bed, which once belonged to Marie Antoinette. The holy picture beside the bed. The crucifix which joins the family pictures among the familiar possessions in the doctor's room. The bed which came from Spain, ancient and honored, carved from dark walnut. All these things speak of an unquenchable love of things long past and glorious. To the President's palace in the afternoon go the women of this family, and many others like them, not for the state functions or more carefree days, but to roll bandages for the Red Cross, as guests of Peru's First Lady. From the time they were children, these women have learned that to visit the sick and give to the poor was part of the role of a lady in Lima. Little of this attitude has changed since colonial days. Charity they take for granted, as they do their church and their home. For amusement, the women of this group are enthusiastic and competent bridge players. They come to the country club in the late afternoon to exchange news with their friends, observe each other's new hats, and incidentally, to play bridge. There are on occasion 2 or 3 men in a group of 80 women, but ordinarily the amusements of men and women are kept quite separate. A professional man like the doctor has his club, his golf game, his cafe political discussions, but a husband and wife of this generation would not often join each other in public except to attend church. Their family loyalty, unlike ours, is not so much an emotional loyalty to an individual as a broader fidelity to the group or clan. The pattern of a woman's life in this social group is begun in the nursery. The daughters of wealthy families, almost without exception, attend private Catholic schools from the age of 5 or 6. In Lima, there's a growing tendency for boys to attend private English or North American schools, but the girls cling to the formal, intensive instruction of the nuns. Here their education is varied, but slanted toward the same ends as that of their mothers: a home, a family, a secure position in a small, well-bounded world. One of the young girls of the family, personally progressive, vigorous, and mildly rebellious, teaches ballet at a school whose nuns are North American, from Canada and the United States. In this school, she learned English and a certain admiration for North American manners and attire. On the other hand, her first cousin, who is something of a belle in her circle, spends her days in comparative leisure. She is fond of the beach, but on these outings, her mother is her constant companion. She is 17, convent bred, soon to be married to a young man in the diplomatic service. The life of pretty Carmen is closely restricted. She is accustomed to the company of men. Her numerous cousins and uncles are her admirers and friends, but she sees her fiancé only in the company of elders. It will be a good marriage. It was carefully arranged. Sometimes the girls go out together, as to the racetrack on Sunday afternoon. As different as they are, modern Maria, sheltered Carmen, they are good friends with many common interests. Here they are chaperoned by a distant cousin, but they meet a party of friends and in-laws and join them to watch the races. There is a bond between families here which is a little baffling to us. There is no separation when children mature and marry. Sons-in-law or daughters-in-law move into the parents' household and are expected to adjust themselves to its customs, rather than to establish lives of their own. When they do break away, the separation is incomplete, for the family is reunited frequently. Supper is late, at 9:30 or 10, and tonight the family is together again at the home of a beloved widowed aunt. A few additional cousins are present, but father is absent, for he usually dines at his club. The aunt's colonial home is full of treasures from earlier, better days, a place of laughter and music and affection. The meal is simple, rice, eggs, and fruit, but it is served with ceremony. Tonight is the weekly guitar lesson for the young women of the family. It is an old custom, part of the gentle, leisurely life, this enduring affection for music. The professor comes every week, as he has since the girls were children, to keep up instruction in the music that is part of the texture of their lives. All of these people, except the professor, all of them, young and old, are bound together by blood ties. They dance the flirtatious marinera with grace and abandon. This is the bosom of the family. behind the walls that shut out the world. This is part of an old and gracious life, which is giving way slowly to a new order. These people and the other old families of Lima have tried for centuries to stop the flood of change. But it is coming, and they are philosophical enough to know that when it comes, something of the spirit of the old life will remain. Meanwhile, behind the high walls and the closed shutters, the old life goes on, resisting change, resisting time.